tasty bread either. Worse than Wonder Bread. Nothing. That was when I first began to suspect the church was an enormous con game. I had my first experience of real Holy Communion when I first took peyote in 1962. Now, that's what they were faking. This is the real stuff.
Did you resonate at all with the archetypes of Jesus and Mary or anything like that?
Well, Mary must have had some effect on me. When I had polio, my mother did a novena to the Blessed Virgin and dressed me in blue for a year.
What's a novena?
That's a ceremony done for 9 weeks. That's where the Novus root comes in, Novus 9. It's related to the Nightmare and her ninefold in King Lear and the 9 muses in Greek mythology and so on. 9 is the number of the moon. It's used in all sorts of magical workings. Of course, the Pope wouldn't want to admit that.
So you mentioned that you had polio.
Yes, I sure did. No doubt. I don't remember much about the polio. I'm remembering more lately. I had polio at the age of 4. At that time, the American Medical Association said there was no cure for it. There was a crazy nurse in Australia named Sister Kenny who claimed she had a cure. And by some odd stroke of blind luck or divine guidance or something, my parents found the one doctor in the greater New York area who was using the Sister Kenny method. And I was apparently totally cured. And I spent most of my life walking around, running, doing everything that ordinary people do. And then in my 20s, I started to have spasms in the legs, which kept me awake at night until I found a doctor who prescribed Valium for it. Valium was originally a muscle relaxant before they started selling it as a tranquilizer. It's very good for post-polio syndromes. And that bothered me for 20 years or so off and on, but the Valium controlled it. And then I started getting leg pains. And I found out after trying a variety of doctors and a variety of medicines that ibuprofen worked about as well as anything. And then suddenly this April, the leg pains became worse than ever, and I started falling down, and now I'm on a variety of medications, and I'm back almost where I was at the age of 4, but doing much better. I'm recovering faster this time, I think. Well, I'm a congenital optimist. I think it comes with the genes.
Do you think that the early experience of polio had much effect on you?
Yeah, I think it underlies the tone of anxiety and paranoia that you find in all of my novels. Basically, all the characters in my novels come to a point where they're convinced the universe has been organized just to destroy them.
Well, that's just obviously true. No, sorry.
No, it hasn't been organized to destroy you. It's been organized to destroy all of us. But you get this feeling that the whole universe is an enormous conspiracy to destroy you. I think that comes with any disease like polio or the fatal diseases like cancer and so on. I had a lot of friends die of cancer in the last 10 years. And I think polio gave me a deep sense that the universe can't be trusted, that life is not a bowl of cherries, and that you got to be pretty damn tough to survive. And then I read Nietzsche when I was about 18, and he gave me all the philosophy I needed to back up that general. The universe doesn't give a damn for you. There is no God. The universe doesn't care. You're on your own, brother, and learn to live with it. Anything that doesn't kill me makes me stronger. That's my favorite quote from Nietzsche. And anything that doesn't kill me makes me stronger.
So did you spend very much time, like, actually in your room, unable to go out?
Yeah, I think that was about a year. What I remember best is when I was in recovery. One of the things, besides the hot cloths, which are a standard part of the Sister Kenny method, and the baths and the exercising the legs, there was a period in which I was in recovery, and I was supposed to walk all the time with one leg in the gutter and one leg on the sidewalk, and switch legs regularly side to side of the sidewalk. This was where there wasn't very heavy traffic. It was safe for a kid to do it, where we were living. And this was supposed to stretch each leg and make the muscles stronger. I don't know how many dead muscles I've got in my legs. It's an interesting question. I've been researching post-polio syndrome on the World Wide Web, and I find the estimates run as high as 50% of the muscles die during polio. So what the hell have I been walking on for the last 64 years? on faith and willpower mostly, but that wears out after 60 years. The muscles just started complaining too much. But I still walk a little bit every day, just to prove I can and to keep in practice. I figured if I learn to walk twice, I can learn to walk 3 times. I remember somebody telling me about a guy starting a new computer company and how optimistic he was. And I said, well, pessimists don't start computer companies or any other kind of companies. The pessimists never do a damn thing but sit and bitch and moan and piss and complain. The optimists do everything. So I'm on the side of the optimists. I think the universe is indifferent, but I'm still an optimist.
What drugs were popular in the Garrison Beach community?
A hemp rope. I don't know how old I was, 6, 7, 8, I don't know. But at some point, a bunch of older boys were sitting behind the coal bin in the yard of somebody's house and smoking rope. And I said, what's that? And they say, it makes you feel great. So I sat down and smoked some rope with them. And we did that pretty regularly for a year or so. And then suddenly the rope lost its effect. And it didn't get us high and happy anymore. And then I forgot all about that until I started researching the history of marijuana. That was when they stopped making hemp rope in this country, and they replaced it with various synthetics and plastics. So we were damn lucky that the plastic they replaced it with wasn't poisonous, because we would have taken a great big toke and all dropped dead. And our parents would find 8 dead kids with a mystery. What killed them? I'm glad that didn't happen.
How does one smoke a hemp rope?
You just light one end of it and suck as hard as you can on the other.
So you cut off a cigarette length of rope? And
we used a longer length than that because we passed it around. Another great spiritual experience of my childhood, besides the hemp rope, was spinning until you get dizzy and fall down. All cultures seem to figure that out or learn it from older kids or something. It seems to be almost universal. Those and the movies I mentioned were the essence of my quote, unquote, spiritual life. The Catholic Church did nothing but scare the shit out of me. It didn't give me any spiritual nourishment whatsoever. I don't mean to sound bitter against the Catholic Church. I don't think it's the worst church in the world. I think it's one of the 3 worst, but not the worst. I haven't decided which is the worst, the Catholic Church, Islam, or Scientology. But those are definitely the 3 most poisonous of the lot. I don't like churches in general, though. I think they're all pretty dreadful. Well, maybe some parts of Buddhism aren't so dreadful. I was married in a Buddhist church.
Where was that?
In New York City. Arlen and I were talking about where we were going to get married, and we both didn't want to have anything to do with the church. And I suddenly said, I don't like City Hall either. And she said, what do you want to do, go up on a mountain and do our own ritual? I said, let's find a Buddhist church. She said, I like that. So we found a Buddhist church. It was Shinran Buddhist, and it was a really lovely ceremony. And it worked. We loved each other 42 years.
What did you do when you got out of college?
I never got out of college, so to speak. I worked for an engineering firm and went to college at nights. And then after that, I decided to launch my career as a writer, which landed me in a variety of jobs as editor of totally forgotten magazines, reporter for various newspapers, including one that's still quite successful that managed to survive my present, Home Furnishings Daily, which is read by everybody in the home furnishings business. And eventually I ended up with one of the most prestigious jobs you can have as an editor. I was associate editor of Playboy. Boy, did that impress people. Nothing I've done since has impressed people